And we welcome you to Fantasy Football today. I'm going to try to put on a happy face. We're presented by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. I was going to do this whole elaborate intro where I was going to start by myself. And I was going to say, hey, it's Adam here. Dave wasn't able to make the show. He sprained his MCL. He's out 4 weeks. He has a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss 3 to 4 weeks. But I forgot. And here we are. You guys are on the show. You're not hurt. But this is horrible. I mean, I don't have a good enough memory to say this is the worst fantasy injury week I've ever seen, but it feels, guys, like the worst fantasy injury week we've ever seen. This is just dreadful.
It may be the worst season we've ever seen. I don't know if it's the worst week, but I mean, you think about it, we're 2 full weeks into the season, and I listed the all injury team yesterday, and you got, if it's a super flex league, Jordan Love and Tua Tagovailoa out. You've got Christian McCaffrey, Isaiah Pacheco, throw whatever running backs you want in there. Ken Walker, Joe Mixon, all dealing with injuries. I put McCaffrey and Pacheco as their running backs. And then I just kind of went based on draft position. But Puka, A.J. Brown, Debo Samuel, Cooper Kupp, those 4 receivers out. Ferguson right now at least out. And then if you want to do a flex, any one of the receivers, Debo. The other running backs, again, Mixon, Walker, Raheem Mostert, the other receiver, T. Higgins. Like, it's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. Graham Gano. No Graham Gano.
I mean, what are we doing with no Graham Gano? The other part of the equation is that the offenses aren't kicking into high gear yet. It's still preseason for a couple of these teams. And passing's down. Patrick Mahomes doesn't even know what 20 fantasy points looks like anymore. It's ridiculous. It is a very strange start to what will probably be a continued chaotic year. Yay, fantasy football.
Patrick Mahomes, 2 times in his last 15 games, he scored more than 21 fantasy points. Meanwhile, Kirk Cousins scored 21.6 last night. He had nearly 9 of those on his game-winning possession, where he threw for 70 yards and a touchdown.
They went 58 yards in 3 plays.
It was unbelievable. That was
amazing on those plays, but
horrible defense.
Carved up prevent.
Hey, listen, before we get into the waiver wire, got any undefeated teams left, guys?
Yes.
Wow, nice. Way to go.
Several, actually. I drafting Jordan Mason in round 10 toward the end of draft season was a very good decision.
Yes, I do too. It was a joke. All right, let's get into it. Jamie, top 3 waiver wire priorities.
Top 3, you got to go Carson, Steele 1, even though who knows what's going to happen there with the Kansas City backfield and Kareem Hunt on his way to visit the Chiefs. Yay. So Steele will be 1. I'm going to put Darnell Mooney 2 and Hunter Henry 3. Mooney, 7 targets, look good for the Falcons last night. And Hunter Henry because we need tight ends.
So let's hypothetical here. Let's say before we have a show tomorrow, let's say the Chiefs sign Kareem Hunt today. What would your advice then be to people?
Still pick up Carson, Steele, but don't spend anywhere close to the FAAB you might have been considering.
And that's going to be a problem because somebody in every league they'll overspend for all these guys. And I actually have a different spin on it. I think if Hunt signs, he's the one that'll end up being I'm going to use best in air quotes. He'll be the best of the 3, but it's going to be ugly. Like, I would not have a Chiefs or potential Chiefs running back in my top 3 for waiver ads this week.
And I'll just give one other option here. And I don't know if you know a timeline. I don't know a timeline, but is Clyde Edwards-Helaire the best guy to pick up? He has to miss at least 2 more games.
It sounds like there's a chance that he's back after his IR stint ends in week 4. So that Andy Reid said it's, quote, part of the equation of their running back scenario here.
Okay. All right. So it's a little bit cloudy there. Pacheco, what was 6 to 8 weeks for Pacheco with a fractured fibula. There is a bye week in week 6. Yeah, I wish in it, obviously we have all these injuries. I wish there was a Jordan Mason solution out there. But it doesn't necessarily seem like there is. So Carson, Steele, Darnell, Mooney, Hunter Henry for Jamie. You got to throw Derek Carr out there. I mean,
yeah, he's number 1 for me.
All right, who else you got?
Obviously, if you don't need Derek Carr, you probably shouldn't prioritize Derek Carr. But someone in your league is going to need Derek Carr, and I'm sold on the Saints offense being different and refreshed and better for the rest of the season. He would be my number one. And then I don't feel great about the rest of the options. It's Hunter Henry would be up there, and then one of Quentin Johnston or Darnell Mooney. But to me, this is a very, very tough week for waivers. I don't think there is a one guy who you've got to get.
Now, we have Stafford coming off a pretty bad game by his standards, but, and maybe there are more of those to come. I'm not suggesting him as a waiver wire pickup, by the way. But what about Demarcus Robinson? He's 66% roster. Jordan Whittingham. Tyler Johnson got phased out a little bit. I think Whittingham may be replacing him.
It's Whittington.
Whittington. I wrote, my bad.
Yeah, he would be up there. I'm looking now at the snaps without Cooper Kupp last week, and
I can tell you what the routes.
Go ahead. There weren't a lot of them, apparently.
So Robinson and Whittington ran 10 routes. Atwell ran 7, and Tyler Johnson ran 5. Colby Parkinson ran 8. Kyron Williams ran 10. This was in the second half. Kyron Williams actually had 3 catches in the second half, so that might boost his value a little bit if he gets more catches. But Johnson ran half the routes of Robinson and Whittington, and Parkinson also ran more routes than Tyler Johnson, and so did Tutu Atwell. So that's what it was in the second half. I feel like Whittington became their slot guy. He had a 75% slot rate, and
that second half to me, throw it out.
Well, that's what they.
I disagree. I think that's them trying things out. Because
they're definitely trying things out, but I mean that was miserable.
Yeah, but Whittington to me, he was playing ahead of Tyler Johnson,
and hopefully he does.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we'll see if there's some production there. All right. So for Jamie, it was Carson, Steele, Darnell Mooney, Hunter Henry. For Dave, it was Derek Carr, Hunter Henry, and either Quentin Johnston or Darnell Mooney. So similarities there. I actually felt like my parents yesterday trying to find something on the internet and not being able to, and like needing to ask a younger person to help me. I was trying to find Jonathan Brooks's roster percentage on Yahoo and ESPN.
Do you need me to get that for you, sir?
I don't play in any leagues there, so yes,
I will get it for you.
Okay, I would love to know. He's 85% roster.
No problem, Grandpa.
In CBS leagues, but I wonder, Jonathan Brooks could be coming back in 2 weeks after 2 more games, so maybe that's someone that we add now and stash. And those are our top priorities. We are on CBS Sports Network 3 times this week. Now, usually we're 1 p.m. on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, but this week, 11:30 a.m. today, 12:30 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, and on Friday, we're back to 1 p.m. So that's CBS Sports Network. If you miss it on CBS Sports Network, you can watch it at youtube.com/fantasyfootballtoday. Let's go through all the news and notes, and then we'll talk more waiver wire players and man, there's a lot of news. So first of all, the Panthers are benching Bryce Young for Andy Dalton. In 2022, Dalton made 14 starts with the Saints, and he didn't throw much, 27 pass attempts per game, but he actually ranked 6th in the NFL in yards per attempt. Last year, he made 1 start with the Panthers. He scored 27.5 fantasy points on 58 pass attempts. But I'll tell you what, this has happened in leagues. Deontay Johnson is 80% rostered. If he were available in my league, Jamie, he'd be number 1 for me. How about you, Deontay?
Certainly number 1 at receiver. Again, it depends on what you need, because you might be looking at a running back situation more so than a receiver. So Carson Steele would be the one to go get. But yes, Deontay Johnson in a vacuum in terms of overall player, I would agree.
Yeah, actually, I'll amend that to say he's actually still more rostered than Rashid Shaheed. So if they were both available, Deontay Johnson and Rashid Shaheed, who would you go with?
Shaheed.
Same.
Okay.
Justin, your percentages, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Jonathan Brooks.
All right. We're going to play shuffleboard after this, and then you can get a nice nap. We'll give you a warm glass of milk, and you'll be good to go. Brooks is rostered in almost 70% of ESPN leagues and 75% of Yahoo leagues.
Okay.
He ain't out there.
Well, he's a little out there. No. So anyway, this should be a boost for the Panthers offense. I mean, I know Dalton's not a savior, but Young, it's disappointing what he's become already in a little bit more than 1 season. We're going to keep an eye on Justin Herbert's leg. Jordan Love, he has not been ruled out yet for week 3. They basically took that to the wire in week 2, and it seemed pretty clear he wasn't going to play. I would say still not expecting Jordan Love in week 3. And the Dolphins signed Tyler Huntley. They have not put Tua on IR yet. Running back news. Joe Mixon. Looks like he avoided serious injury. That's the good news. Are you guys expecting him to play this week?
As of now, no.
All right, that's Joe Mixon, and also Damian Pierce missed last week's game. He's banged up, so Cam Akers could be a 1 week guy at Minnesota. Maybe, hopefully, just 1 week, maybe more. Pacheco 6 to 8 weeks. Good with Jonathan Taylor. I know he didn't play in the fourth quarter, but
as of now,
Yep.
We'll see if that injury report comes out on Wednesday if he's on it.
yeah, Aaron Jones might be on the injury report too. He got a little banged up. Tajay Spears appeared to have avoided anything serious. He might be able to come back and play this week.
Good. I could use 5 fantasy points.
Pierre Strong, I think, is going to miss a few weeks for the Browns. Tank Bigsby shoulder. More than that, Pierre Strong?
No. I'm just saying Deontay Foreman is going to become a thing.
Yeah. Right. I mean, they'll probably everyone will score this week against the Giants.
Yeah.
Marshawn Lloyd left with an ankle injury, and that's it for running back. Get you the wide receiver news in 1 second, but it's time to get that BetMGM app. If you haven't signed up yet for BetMGM, use the bonus code FANTASY. You're going to get up to a $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. So here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FANTASY. Deposit at least $10, place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure you use the bonus code FANTASY when you sign up on BetMGM. All right, we'll update you on St. Brown, on Debo, on Kupp, on A.J. Brown after this break on Fantasy Football Today. Okay, let's go to the wide receivers. So St. Brown, we're thinking is going to play this week, right? He seems okay?
Yep.
All right. Wow. Amazing.
He's going to play football.
All right. Deebo Samuel's going to miss a few weeks with a calf injury. So does this really only help, Kittle and Ayuk, or is Juwan Jennings more interesting? Will Jordan Mason actually catch 2 passes? Dave, what's the impact of Deebo missing a few weeks with a calf injury?
I would imagine more targets funneled to Ayuk and Kittle. Juwan Jennings will get in there and might be good for around like a floor of 8.5 PPR points. I guess a half would mean that he would need to catch a lot of passes. Let's call it 8 just to make it a nice even number. And he's got potential to score. I would not expect him to be a reliable wide receiver 3, at least for the near future.
I blame you, Adam, for this. Called you this morning. I said, who did I miss?
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry.
How do we forget Juwan Jennings?
Well,
he should absolutely be one of the priorities, Dad, this week.
Well, he's had his chances in the past with Deebo out, and he hasn't really done much. But I don't know that I don't think he's had Deebo and McCaffrey out. Maybe.
Right.
So there's no question he'll play more, and he's available everywhere. But I just don't know what the upside is.
10 to 12 fantasy. No, I wouldn't say.
No, he can go better. His upside is probably 14 PPR points. The 8 points that I just gave him, and then a touchdown on top of it.
All right. A.J. Brown expects to miss at least 2 games. Let's just hope for 2. They missed 1 yesterday. They're at New Orleans. Oh, that's a fun one.
That is going to be a fun one.
Yeah.
Saints are going to win that one too.
Cooper Kupp's not on IR yet, but he could go on IR. He's got an ankle injury. Justin Jefferson has a bruised quad. So it looks like Jefferson and St. Brown. Certainly St. Brown should be good this week. Hopefully Jefferson too. T. Higgins making progress. Oh, please come back for the Washington game. That would be wonderful. DeAndre Hopkins.
Please come back.
Yeah. Hopkins specified he does not have a tear in his knee. He just has a sprained knee. But as I mentioned yesterday, Hopkins still not playing close to a full snap share. And Jordan Addison has a chance to play this week against Houston. Tight ends. Good news on the tight end front here is Jake Ferguson could play this week. And David Njoku has a chance to play this week. And Taysom Hill has a chance to play this week. But Evan Ingram does not. He is week to week with the hamstring injury. On the offensive line, oh, man, the Rams. They're the team this year. I mean, there's always at least one team that just has this crazy rash of injuries. It is the Rams. Jonah Jackson.
Yeah, the 49ers might have something to say about that.
Yeah. I think the Rams are worse, though. Puka.
The Rams definitely have, I think, the volume of injuries. But in terms of star power, it's probably
Rams.
It's definitely the Rams. It's almost like the Chargers injury bug that's been biting them for 15 years. Just kind of like went over to the other side of town and started biting Rams players. Like Harbaugh got the bug out of their facility.
Man. Well, the Rams, anyway, what I was saying is Jonah Jackson, starting guard, who they got as a free agent from Detroit. Could go on IR with a shoulder injury. They also lost a defensive player. John Johnson.
Johnson the third, their safety.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, let's play a quick game. The Rams are 0-2 right now. Puka's gone for another 3 games. Kupp, who knows how long he's going to be gone for. They play the Niners this week. Is that a win or a loss?
Loss.
At Chicago in week 4.
Could be a win.
Could be.
Green Bay in week 5 at home.
I'm going to say Love is back, and that's a loss.
Okay, then a bye. Raiders at home week 7.
Win.
Okay. Minnesota at home week 8.
I'll say win.
All right. So
not winning all those games.
Optimistic Eisenberg's got them with 3 wins at the midpoint of the season. That would make me encouraged that those guys will all come back, no question. I'm worried that if they lose all those games, do they bag the season, tank for a draft pick, and not bring back Nakua and Kupp? I think they bring back Nakua, but not Kupp and some of those other linemen.
Why would Kupp at 31 years old not come back and play?
If he's not going to be at 100%, why risk it for no good reason?
Because he wants to play football.
That's what I always say. These guys want to play football.
They do, but
and I want to play fantasy football. So let's do some FAAB talk here.
Okay, fine.
All right. So how much FAAB for your favorite player this week?
If you need something, again, of a starting variety, then you're probably going to overspend for Steele or Mooney or Carr or Henry. So I would say at most you should be looking at 20%. You're 0-2 at this point. You need something to plug and play. Just depends on how your league looks, how much they spent for the first couple of weeks, but it shouldn't be anything more than that.
I think the number is even lower. I think it's like 15%. I don't think you'll get some of these guys. I think Steele will go for more than 15%. I think Pirine might go for around 15%. I think Hunt might go for around 15%. And if you're desperate for a quarterback in a 1 QB league, I know I am in one of my leagues, I would probably spend a little more than 15% on Derek Carr. But in most cases, I'm going to guess you can get those guys for 15% or less.
Now, why are you so hesitant on Carson Steele?
Because he's an undrafted rookie who fumbled last week, could be one fumble away from being on the bench. His only good efficiency metric so far is yards after contact per rush. He's averaging 3 yards per rush. And the role that you want to lock in on this Chiefs offense is going to be passing downs running back and or goal line back. And if they sign Kareem Hunt, I think he kills both those birds.
What if he does? What if they don't sign Kareem Hunt?
And I'd be a little bit more encouraged on Steele, but I also think Pirine's going to be a factor. Remember, we are not that far removed from a couple of starts that Pirine made, and it was a while ago. It seems like a century ago, but 2 years ago, where he was the main guy for the Bengals and he crushed it. It was like way north of 15 PPR points in each of those games. Who's to say that he doesn't lead the way? Definitely takes all the passing downs. Definitely the better pass protector between him and Steele.
Yeah.
All right. And so what you're hoping for with Steele is maybe 10 touches over the course of the game, and fingers crossed that he gets the carry at the goal line when they've got Mahomes and everybody else that's there.
Well, I think I don't think
they're trusting Carson Steele right off the bat.
It was very encouraging that right after the fumble, they had a short yardage play and they needed to pick up
and he picked
whatever the yard to, and they went right back to him. Now, by default,
I don't know if they had a choice.
Very well could be, but they could have used Pirine there. They could have been Chiefs creative and done something else, to get that play.
True.
I think the way that their offense is operating right now, they almost, I don't say need, but they almost seem to favor a power back. And so is Kareem Hunt walking off the street, whatever shape he may be in, and taking that job? He certainly could. That should know Andy Reid's offense and should have some familiarity with it. But this is a team that has proven that they're not afraid to, and this goes for Kareem Hunt also, not afraid to use whoever they think is best. They've tried it with Le'Veon Bell. They've tried it with Melvin Gordon. They've certainly not been afraid to, just use a 7th-round pick in Isaiah Pacheco, who became a superstar. So it would not be surprising if Steele is the guy. So to spend 15 to 20% on the speculation of what he can be, I'm willing to do that. No problem.
And I think it's easier to do.
Even if they sign Kareem Hunt, I have no
Really? Even if they sign
no worries going with Steele first.
Okay.
I mean, Hunt is.
I don't want to spend that much if Hunt's there.
Yeah. I mean, that's what Jamie did say, that if they don't spend as much FAAB if they bring in Hunt. Hunt's 29 years old. He hasn't really been a good running back for a long time.
No, but what's two things that he does really well?
I don't know that he does it better than Carson Steele, though. I mean, I feel like if Steele has a strength, it is short yardage. He's just kind of a bull. But I don't know. Is Hunt really that good near the goal line? I know he got some goal line work, but
he had 9 touchdowns last year. 7 of them were from the 4 or closer.
I know, but was he efficient there, or did he have a lot of opportunities? If he had 7 from the 4 or closer, that's pretty good.
I'm guessing it was a good conversion rate. I can double check that. I've got that set available. But I also think he's the better pass protector of the 3 of them.
Better than Pirine.
Better than Pirine.
All right. Well, let's see. Okay, who else for FAAB? Who else? So how much for Derek Carr?
I don't think he's going to go for that much unless you're the Love or Tua manager that's stuck.
Right.
And in that case, would you spend more than 10% on Carr?
Again, depending on what you've spent through the first 2 weeks and what the rest of your league is looking at, so probably somewhere between 10 and 15% should get it done.
How much for a Rams receiver?
Not much at all. Robinson, maybe 10%. I mean, the fact that he's at 66% is telling me that 10% of the 10-team leagues and some shallow 12-team leagues is where he's available. So in a 10-team league, I'm not spending that much for him.
Okay.
I think you can get Whittington for like 4, and you could probably get Robinson for like 5 or 6. I've got the Kareem Hunt number if you're interested.
Yeah, go ahead.
12 rushes last year from 5 yards or closer, converted 58.3% of them for touchdowns. So almost 60%. That's pretty good. It's top 20 good at least.
Yeah, that's good. How about maybe is the smart play this if you don't need someone long term is to put a little bit in on Cam Akers. I mean, I'm a little skeptical that Joe Mixon's going to play this week. Obviously, I don't know, but it looks kind of bad.
So you got 2 things at play. You got Mixon maybe playing, and what happens if Pierce is healthy? How much does he take work away from Cam Akers because Pierce missed last week's game? So he's the second running back to go get.
Yeah.
Exactly. He's the second running back to go get if you need someone for this week. Now, if you don't need someone for this week, I would probably just skip over maybe him and the Chiefs guys and go get Ty Chandler if he's still out there because he looked great and he's an injury away from being a potential superstar.
Okay.
Any interest in Braylon Allen?
Yeah, long term. I mean, I think between Brandon Allen and Ray Davis, you're looking at 2 guys that if an injury happens, you're going to be really happy about having those guys on your team. So, when you talk long term, those are stashes that we said from the beginning of the season. These are lottery ticket type guys that should something happen, a la Jordan Mason situation, you're looking at starting caliber production, whether it's top 10, top 20, a guy that will be in your lineup.
I think this is a good week to look at the stash guys. I think there's a lot of interesting stash receivers.
But I don't disagree with that. The problem is that there's so many injuries.
It's true.
You have to carry those guys if you don't have IR spots because they're not going on IR. So it's so difficult to tell people, go pick up Braylon Allen, go pick up Ray Davis, go pick up some of these receivers that may have options down the road. If you could do it, do it.
Yeah,
but,
right.
I mean, how many people when you can't stash IR guys, even if you don't have IR, even if you have IR spots, like
right, you're going to run out of those too.
And you're screwed.
Fun times. We should touch on the stash guys at some point. We will when we go by position, if that's cool with you, Adam.
Yeah, and speaking of stash, we're getting there. I think Friday maybe is the day. Maybe Sunday. Yeah.
When are we doing the 100 question live stream?
Yeah, I was thinking about that, and I actually am really disappointed that you committed us to that. But I don't know.
It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions.
You know what? For 100,000 subscribers, we need to give back, and that's a great way to give back.
Okay,
but that's when the mustache should debut.
Top 3 at each position. Top 3 at each position. Jamie, who are the top 3 quarterbacks?
Top 3 quarterbacks are Derek Carr, Geno Smith, and Deshaun Watson for this week.
Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson. All right. Derek Carr is how about I have a stat for you real quick, by the way. Derek Carr has Philadelphia. Geno Smith has Miami. And Deshaun Watson has the Giants. So here are your top 3 quarterbacks right now in passing yards per attempt after 2 games. Derek Carr 1, Baker Mayfield 2, Sam Darnold 3. Over the previous 3 years, I looked at the quarterbacks who were top 3 in yards per attempt after 2 games. Did it stick? 7 of the 9 finished in the top 10 in yards per attempt. So they went on to have good seasons. Now you look at 4 years ago, it was none of the top 3. So that's, it's selective sample sizing here. But getting off to a good start, you could say it's just 2 games. It's been a good thing for some surprising quarterbacks that have been in that group too, by the way, over the last 3 seasons. Okay, so it's Derek Carr and Geno Smith and Deshaun Watson, and maybe Carr can have the best fantasy season of his career. Running back, Dave, top 3?
Let's skip the Chiefs. The top 3 for me would be Braylon Allen, Deontay Foreman, and then pick a Texans running back, one of Dameon Pierce or Cam Akers. If we want to include the Kansas City running backs, let's say Kareem Hunt does not sign, I would put P. Ryan ahead of Steele and then put Allen behind them. If Kareem Hunt does sign, or if it appears imminent that he will sign before waivers runs, I'd put him at the top, gross as it sounds, followed by P. Ryan and then Steele.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to ask, if you don't need someone for this week or next week, if you're okay at running back, would you just put Clyde Edwards-Helaire at the top?
No.
I 100%, if you have an IR spot, I would put him in the top tier of priorities.
Yeah. All right, so obviously,
you can get him for like $2.
They obviously disagree. All right, so Jamie's more of a Steele guy. Dave's more of a P. Ryan guy or a Kareem Hunt guy, and not as interested in the Chiefs' backfields, fair to say?
I think they're just going to take away from each other.
All right. We're going to talk about...
I think Patrick Mahomes will end up doing everything.
They're going to talk buy low, sell high tomorrow, but maybe this is what Kelsey needs to get things going.
Very much.
Wide receivers, Jamie, the top 3 for you.
Number 1, again, this is looking at it from our percentage perspective. So if Rashid Shaheed is available, go get him. Deontay Johnson's available, go get him. Jackson Smith and the Jigba is only 77% rostered on our site. If he's available, go get him. A lot of those guys that could be available might have a better chance of helping you long-term. DeMarcus Robinson as well. But for what we talk about, under 65% roster on our site, Darnell Mooney would be 1, Quentin Johnston would be 2, Jawan Jennings would be 3.
Darnell Mooney, Quentin Johnston, and who'd you say? Jawan Jennings?
Jawan Jennings.
Not a great wide receiver week?
Not particularly, but, Mooney, 7 targets, looked good last night. Probably a lot of that had to do with the Eagles defense. Quentin Johnston, maybe Jim Harbaugh is the answer that he's been looking for. Don't want to chase 5 catches on 51 yards and the 2 touchdowns because you take away the scores, it's ugly. And it's going to be a low volume passing attack. But, Josh Palmer can't do anything productive right now. And Lai McConkey's still maybe going through his rookie season of ups and downs as we tend to see. So the Rams guys, I think behind DeMarcus Robinson is a gamble. The one guy, if you want to take Dave's route of stashing players, Josh Downs could be really good as a long-term option as someone to look at. And then the guys in Carolina that are still available, aside from Deontay Johnson, because just maybe Andy Dalton makes those guys better. So Xavier Legette and Adam Thielen.
Okay, tight end time, Dave. Who are your top tight end priorities?
Hunter Henry is numero uno. He's available in 74% of CBS Sports leagues. Colby Parkinson would be next because he's a Ram who's going to catch passes. I've got Gesicki third, but it's more on a week-to-week thing. And obviously, if T. Higgins comes back, Gesicki should go waiver wire. That wasn't good.
Yeah, Gesicki, there's only one team so far through 2 weeks that is awful against tight ends, and it's the Chiefs with Likely and Gesicki. So, Kyle Pitts, come on, man. You got to get it going this week.
If you've got Pitts, you're starting him anyway, so you might as well give him another shot against the Chiefs.
And Gesicki is going to lose some luster if T. Higgins plays this week, but they are playing Washington, so.
If you just need one for this week and Higgins is out, Gesicki would be my favorite.
2 Monday Night Football games this week, by the way.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yay. I always like that. I always enjoy that. Let's see. We got DSTs, Jamie. Who are the DSTs to pick up?
So it was the Raiders until the quarterback change in Carolina. So the Raiders are still somewhat of a priority, but not the same priority. The Seahawks with Skylar Thompson. I'm surprised they're still 50% rostered after their first 2 matchups. The Bucks get Denver. The Bears get Anthony Richardson. The Raiders still against Carolina, and the Packers against Will Levis.
I have the same top 5, just in a different order.
What's yours?
Bucks, Bears, Seahawks, Raiders, Packers. Bet against Bonex.
It's a good
I'll
idea.
bet against Skylar Thompson, but yes, I agree.
Well, Skylar Thompson's got Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane.
That is very true. He does. He also has Skylar Thompson.
At some point, we're probably going to have to remind Skylar Thompson that he has Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. He'll definitely get the ball to Achane, but I hope he gets it to the other guys.
As long as he doesn't throw to Robbie Chosen and Grant Dubose, we'll be fine.
And listen, I'm kind of surprised at the roster percentages for Njoku and Ferguson. They're in like the 85% range, 84% for Njoku, 82% for Ferguson. So is that relevant for most of you listening and playing in CBS leagues? No. But anytime I see something like that, I subtract at least 10% for Yahoo and ESPN leagues. And Dave, young man, if you'd like to tell me their roster percentages there, that's fine. But just look for Njoku and Ferguson, especially Njoku, because you may not see him if you just go to the stats page and look at projections. He's probably not projected for week 3, just a guess. That's Sportsline does the projections. But if you go to the roster trends, again, you should do this every week. Go to your team. If on CBS, go to players, go to roster trends, go to most rostered and started or whatever it is, and you will see the players who are highly rostered and available. Like I picked up Calvin Ridley in a league this past week. I had no idea he was available. I went to that page and said, holy cow, I didn't even realize someone dropped him. So
What league was that?
This is a league that the only league I play in with casual fantasy player, or one of 2 leagues. These things do happen. You know,
I don't disagree with you. I'm just curious what league it was.
Yeah, it wasn't not one of our leagues, but yeah, this when you always say, I wish I were playing one of those leagues. Well, now I am.
Yeah.
This is why we went
10
undefeated
teams?
in softball. No, 12 teams.
12 teams. Interesting.
Softball league. You know, we're not good at anything. Anyway, kickers, Jamie, kickers.
Kickers. Everybody cares about the kickers. Give me one sec. The guys to go get would be Evan McPherson, 63% rostered, Blake Groupie, Dustin Hopkins, Matt Prater, and Daniel Carson.
And we don't have any IDP recommendations.
Oh, I forgot to do that. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We'll see if we can get those before the end of the show.
On both ESPN and Yahoo, Ferguson and Njoku are rostered in over 80% of leagues.
Really? All right. Well, thank you for letting me know, young man.
Don't be such a snob.
Those guys should be close to 100% rostered.
Sure.
So you might still be able to get Ferguson or Njoku if you need a tight end. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll tell you who's available in shallow leagues, deep leagues, the drop-o-meter, the Falcons and Eagles games, our thoughts from that one. Did Drake London get himself back in your good graces, or was it just a little bit too lucky for you? We'll talk about it after this on FFT.
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. It's thrilling, terrifying. It will make your heart pound out of your chest. A Quiet Place Day 1, now streaming.
Jamie Eisenberg, in those...
I got some IDPs if you want.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Defensive linemen, and again, we do things a little different, so there might be some linebackers that are defensive line eligible. Patrick Jones for the Vikings just had 2 sacks. Will McDonald, the 4th, had 3 sacks. Both those guys certainly going to be active for their respective teams. McDonald, they need him. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, but Henry Toottootoo.
Oh, is that Toa Toa?
Yeah, Toa. He's coming off a strong game, leading them in tackles, 7 tackles last week.
I think I'm wrong about that, by the way.
Owe?
Odafe Owe, yeah.
Odafe Owe.
I think
this is another guy that could be defensive line eligible, but had 2.5 sacks for the Ravens this past week. And Jermaine Pratt, he continues just to make plays for the Bengals. Just had 8 tackles last week, 2 games ago against the Patriots, and 16 tackles this past game against the Chiefs. So another linebacker option for you. And then some defensive backs that could be relevant for this week. Alante Taylor had the interception for the Saints, right?
Yeah.
He
He's
picked off. No. No, he did not have an interception last week, but he had 9 tackles.
Oh, Paulson Adebo had
Adebo had, yep.
tackles is what you want, is what I chase. I want guys who get tackles.
Yep, Taylor had 9 tackles, and Quentin Lake for the Rams had 11 tackles after having 10 tackles the previous week.
I have the pronunciation guide in front of me. I'm just going to keep this open here, so if we ever run into trouble, To'o on the Houston Texans. All right, Jamie. So in shallow leagues, who are the players we should be looking at?
In shallow leagues, you're supposed to sing it.
That's not really my thing. That's a Chris Towers thing.
Singing isn't your thing?
Singing in the shallow.
You mentioned the tight ends, David Njoku and Jake Ferguson. Not a bad time to start stashing TJ Hawkinson if you don't have an IR spot, if you have an open roster spot to play with, just because 2 weeks removed. And guess what? Sam Darnold actually looks good. So we might have some good production from Hawkinson moving forward. The receivers we talked a little bit about already. So you have Rashid Shaheed, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Deontay Johnson. Those would probably be my 3 favorites. Khalil Shakir is under 85% on our site. DeMarcus Robinson. Tyler Lockett, I know, had a dud game last week, but good the week before. So there's lots of options at the receiver position. Running backs, you have Rico Dowdle, who outperformed Ezekiel Elliott. Hopefully that's a sign of things to come. Dave mentioned some stash candidates. You have Trey Benson and Bucky Irving. They're a little bit too much rostered on our site to stash them in some shallower leagues, but I'm sorry, in some 12-team leagues. But clearly there's opportunities there if there was ever an injury, and Bucky Irving may be playing more than Rachaad White moving forward.
Can I hit pause real quick and ask you, let's say you have Bucky Irving or a handcuff that you really like. Do you drop them for Carson Steele or Samaje Perine or something?
I think, again, it would be case-by-case basis. So if you don't need Bucky Irving, but you need, like, if, for example, you're the Isaiah Pacheco manager, and your running backs are Pacheco and Javonte Williams, right? Are you more comfortable starting Javonte Williams and Bucky Irving this week, or the chance of what Carson Steele could become?
Yeah.
Steele, but yeah,
right.
yes.
So that's and if Irving's the only guy you can drop, like you may have gone hero RB or zero RB, and your receivers are stacked, you're not dropping them. Your tight ends might have nothing to drop there. Like now, Bucky Irving's a tough one this week because Rachaad White's a little bit banged up, so I don't know if I'd go that route with him in particular. But I get what you're saying. Yes,
Blake Corum. Blake Corum has been.
Blake Corum is easily droppable.
Right.
It's like Chase Brown, for example. Like, do you have to drop Chase Brown to pick up Carson Steele? Yeah. Then that's something you have to do. Right. But look, Irving's look good. The quarterbacks for the shallow leagues, it's not great. But Aaron Rodgers and Kirk Cousins, they're starting to look better. And so matchups this week, not as difficult as they have been.
Who's that?
For Rodgers and Cousins.
Oh, Rodgers and Cousins, yeah. Rodgers.
Oh man, we talked about the Patriots defense on Sunday, and on a short.
I would much rather face the Patriots than the 49ers on the road and the Titans in general.
I think it could still be a little tough for Rodgers, and I think the Chiefs defense could be a bit of a challenge. But I agree with you that they look better. Both.
I totally agree that these are not cake matchups by any stretch. But compared to what Rodgers faced the first 2 weeks and the first game at home for him, I will take my chances with him this week comparatively to the last. And yes, the Falcons matchup probably going to end up being better than the Chiefs matchup.
Did you put him top 12?
No, either one.
Okay.
All right, Dave, let's get the deep league guys here and talk uninterrupted for a bit, because I have a banana here that I'd like to finish. So go ahead.
Only if you promise to eat it on air. At quarterback, I think Sam Darnold is worth putting on. I'd rather have him than Deshaun Watson rest of season. Darnold's available in 75% of CBS Sports leagues, but after Carr, Geno, Darnold, Deshaun Watson, it's not pretty. Justin Fields is rostered in about half our leagues. Throw him out. Gardner Minshew's got the matchup against Carolina. Maybe he gets 2 touchdowns there. That's 88% available. I'll move on to wide receivers. Deep leagues, Quentin Johnson and Darnell Mooney are both available. 70+% availability in those leagues. We haven't talked about Jalen Nailor yet. And if Jordan Addison's not 100% and Justin Jefferson isn't 100% and Jalen Nailor is making plays, albeit occasionally, for the Vikings, I think he might be worth rostering as well. He's out there in 94% of leagues. Jamie mentioned Josh Downs. I think he's an excellent add. He could end up being a go-to guy for Anthony Richardson. They are BFFs off the field. Jordan Whittington, 94% available. Jermaine Burton, 89% available. Would not prioritize him, But if T. Higgins doesn't come back, maybe he gets involved a little bit more. Running backs, Deontay Foreman, 95% available. It's totally gross. I know that he's not great, but he might be the new age guy who just won't go away for fantasy football. And he was close to scoring last week. Could score this week. They're playing the Giants. If you're really desperate at running back, he's somebody that would come into play. The Texans running backs are available in at least 89% of leagues. And tight end, like Hunter Henry, 74% available. Gesicki, 78% available. I'm not going to tell you to go. I'll give you one guy to go chase, and I don't know his roster shape, but Tucker Kraft for Green Bay. It looks like he's going to be the top tight end moving forward for them. Might have a low floor. We're talking like 5 PPR points. But if he can start to get himself involved even more in terms of target share, then he can be a streaming tight end at minimum. Probably wouldn't stash him, though. He's not a good stash guy unless we're talking tight end premium leagues. And in those leagues, he might be gone already.
Thank you, Dave. And I would like to just take a second to recognize arguably the best food in the world, just in terms of versatility, affordability, taste, bananas. They're just, it's hard to find a better food. You know, it's just amazing. Okay. Let's go to last night's game. Big shocking finish in that game. Now everyone's saying, you know, you're talking about Kirk Cousins. Did he look better? I'm not going to say that I was charting at every play, but I can't really remember him leaving the pocket.
No, he barely did.
He's still completely stationary. And he's still, before that last drive, we're talking about a guy who scored 12.5 points. So, what is it? Forget about Cousins, whatever. But what does this mean for London and Pitts going forward?
I think it's a good first step for London after what happened last week. And hopefully it's just, you know, a building block. The thing that makes me encouraged for both these guys is what Cousins said post-game. You know, that he's still not 100% and starting to just feel more comfortable. And I love the fact that they put him under center more to get him doing things that he wants to do. So that was very encouraging. So you're starting to see signs. And, you know, I think it was Dave that alluded to this. You know, we're in the preseason phase still of the NFL season. You know, when this is going to be the norm, I think, moving forward, that there are going to be some teams that get off to hot starts and some teams are just going to be a little sluggish when they don't play their guys in the preseason. And we're seeing this with the Falcons. We're seeing it with the Jets. We're seeing it with some of these other teams that just haven't gotten right yet. And there's still potential for them to get right. And so this is why we said last week, don't panic, you know, with some of these guys. Now, 2 games in, okay, you're starting to see some flaws. So Kyle Pitts, for example, you can certainly start to understand the panic because this is 2 years and 2 games of flawed production. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not gonna throw in the towel on Kyle Pitts yet, but in terms of the potential upside of Drake London and the potential upside of this offense, you got some pretty good signs that they could be headed in the right direction.
I like that London had 7 targets. That is a number that we were looking for from him, if not higher, obviously. I think we were kind of expecting a little bit higher than that when we were taking him in round 2. I got a call back from, or like a thought back to when I saw these Falcons practice against Miami, and Cousins was spreading the ball around then, and Mooney had as many targets as London in those practices. And so here's another game where Mooney had 7 targets, 3 catches, 88 yards, a touchdown. Hat tip to CJ Gardner-Johnson, 2nd week in a row that he couldn't tackle in the open field. At least a receiver. He could tackle a running back in open
and a mouthpiece,
but not but not on the Mooney touchdown. So maybe a little up and down play from him, but he's somebody to keep watching with that Philadelphia defense. I thought by the end of the game, Cousins looked great. And again, take it for what it's worth. This is a step down in competition, clearly, from the Steelers to the Eagles. The offensive line did a much better job protecting him. It kept him in the pocket. I thought he made some good throws early on, and then on that last drive, he was an absolute assassin. And that makes me encouraged for the future of London, of Pitts potentially, and of Mooney. And Mooney could end up being like a decent number 3 receiver. Maybe we'll call him a boom bust flex. I don't think he'll be any better than that, but he's somebody that could be worth adding and just kind of waiting to see what happens. And from week to week, when the matchup's right, and this matchup could be right for him this week, you can put him in your lineup and hope that he catches another deep pass or 2 and sees 7 targets again.
Okay, on to the Eagles side of things. Obviously, Saquon Barkley came very close to having a bigger game. He had a touchdown called back. It ended up in the tush-push touchdown for Jalen Hurts, who scored 25.8 fantasy points and threw that late interception that probably decided some matchup just in terms of what he could have done. I'm just sorry, speaking personally, I was down by 1 point when he threw that.
No.
So I was going probably on my way to a win, and then I lost by 3. But Devontae Smith continues to be unbelievable when someone's out. I'm ready for this. Devontae Smith over Tyreek Hill this week.
I have it ranked that way.
Totally
What? Jamie
Totally
Collins by
reasonable.
paper? No, just kidding. Yeah, Devontae Smith is amazing when someone's out, and we expect A.J. Brown to be out. Dallas Goedert, though, stick with him for another week or look for options.
I mean, at this point, you gotta go with Henry or Gesicki over Goddard, especially if A.J. Brown comes back. But
he's not going to come back. I mean, he said he's going to miss multiple games.
I think if he's your tight end and you can't carry 2, do you want to drop him? You can. He's not a must drop guy. I'd like to see one more game without AJ Brown there, see what happens.
Right, same. Let's go to the drop-o-meter. I don't know, we don't have anything to say about Barkley or Bijan. I mean,
start them.
Right. Yeah, Bijan, it would be nice for him to score, I guess, and for Algier to have 9 carries, but Algier only had 3 last week. Okay, whatever. You know what? I'll say this. It felt a little throwbacky last night to watch these 2 running backs look so good and play so well. It was really, I thought it was cool just to see those running backs do what they were doing. They are so talented. Bijan is
league again.
Breathtaking.
Yeah. This isn't the only time that a running back has looked good this year. There's been a ton of it.
No, but it was Monday Night Football, and it just felt like watch these running backs go do their thing. All right, drop-o-meter. Trevor Lawrence, 0 to 10.
10.
10.
Unless it's super flex, then it's
yeah. And this doesn't mean you have to drop them. It just means you can. You need someone this
No,
week.
you need to drop him before he ruins your fantasy team, even if he's on your bench.
Josh Palmer, 66% rostered.
75.5.
Yep, 10.
Turn him into Quentin Johnston.
The most added player, I believe, from last week, or one of them, Isaiah Likely.
0.
1 maximum.
Jalen Warren, 90% rostered.
I actually think this could be a likely week. On Warren,
0.
1.
Rico Dowdle.
0.
0.
Brandon Cooks.
1. 2.
5 if you need another receiver.
DeAndre Hopkins.
10.
10.
Cortland Sutton.
0.
8.
Wow, a 0 and an 8 for Sutton. Okay. Matthew Stafford.
4.
7 and a 1 QB. No, he's a 10. He's a 10 and a 1 QB.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'd rather have Lawrence than Stafford. I don't know. You guys know?
Yeah.
I'd rather have Lawrence than Stafford too.
I think so. So I mean, I have to change my number for Trevor Lawrence, Adam.
Or for Stafford. Well, you said 10 for both of you. All right, Caleb Williams.
Not this week.
He's like a 6 in redraft.
Rome Odunze.
0.
All right. To the waiver wire. So Rodgers and Cousins are the quarterbacks available in shallow leagues that you could look at. Derek Carr, Geno Smith, Deshaun Watson. Carr is the best this week, and he's the best long-term, right?
Yes.
Yes.
All
No
right.
love for Darnold, man.
He's fourth. Now, here's what I don't love about Darnold. He's got Houston this week.
Yep.
And then he's got Green Bay next week, which so far they've done pretty well against Hurts and Richardson. And then he's got the Jets, and then he has a bye. So it's not a great schedule for Darnold.
What did he do against the 49ers?
Yeah, I mean, well, he pretty much did it all in one play, but he was 19 of 24. I mean, he is completing a very high percentage of passes. 19 of 24, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns. So
It feels like we're.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Darnold was a little bit better than that.
I'm looking at his week 1 stats. I'm sorry.
Yeah. He had 268, 2 and 1 with 32 rush yards.
It's great. It's great.
I forget the name. I know that, and maybe he does fall off because it is Sam Darnold, but I'm really impressed with how he's looked so far.
All right. So after that, I think we should talk a little bit about Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew is 3rd in the NFL in passing yards. He is.
I can't run the ball.
He's completing 77.5% of his passes, which leads the NFL. That's a lot of short passes, third lowest air yards per pass to them. They can't run the ball. Can they run the ball against Carolina? Maybe, but if not, he could torch them. Where are you guys ranking Minshew this week?
Right around 20.
Yeah, he's a QB2. Not like a throwaway though. If you whiff on getting Carr, Geno, Darnold, Watson, wow, if you whiff on getting all those guys, then yeah, I guess Minshew's where you go.
Justin Fields playing well, has a chance to win the job. And hopefully you all saw the throw he made to George Pickens, which was called back on a penalty, but it was
a couple of
throw. Yeah. So he's 55% rostered. And then you've got, I guess we'll call him the Superflex crew. Like, let's talk about Superflex here. You got Dalton, you have Malik Willis, hopefully just for another week or two, Skylar Thompson, but then you have backup quarterbacks that we might be interested in. I know Dan's banging the drum for Jared Stidham. I still think Drew Lock gets a shot at some point.
That would be the one I would stash.
Yeah.
Yep.
Jameis, maybe.
Maybe.
Okay. Let's go to running backs here. Rico Dowdle. These are the shallow league guys. Dowdle, Trey Benson, Bucky Irving, Chuba Hubbard, 70% rostered. Jaleel McLaughlin. And I'll just throw Jonathan Brooks in there in case he happens to be available. Again, not a guy who's going to show up in the projections.
Playing in a 6-team league.
Well, look, I mean, he's 85% rostered, I think. Rico Dowdle is 82% rostered. Is there really a big difference there?
Yeah, they're both not going to be available for most people.
For most people, I know. All right. Oh, also Jaleel McLaughlin is, I don't know. Feels like more of a...
I kind of view the Broncos offense as toxic right now.
Yeah. Yeah, Britney Spears. Right?
I don't know what that means.
You don't know the song?
I mean, I'm compared to Britney Spears often, and I get it, but...
You don't know the song Toxic by Britney Spears?
No.
You're really showing your age, bud.
Is there an oops in that song?
No, you know that song, right, Jamie?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. Everybody's a huge hit.
Jamie's a big-time Britney Spears fan.
Dreadful song. All right, Carson Steele, Samaje Perine, and Kareem Hunt. You've heard two different versions of this. Jamie, I guess rank the three running backs if they sign Hunt today. How would you rank Steele, Perine, and Hunt?
Steele, Perine, Hunt.
And Dave would be?
The exact opposite order.
Hunt, Perine, Steele. And then we've got Cam Akers, and I guess we can throw Damian Pierce in there. I don't know. If they were both healthy, who would you prefer?
It seems like they prefer Akers.
Well, but he fumbled last week, and Akers was inactive. Like, they definitely gave the nod to Akers before the game last week.
Yeah.
And Akers did look, he looked good in the preseason. He didn't look like a guy coming back from a torn Achilles. So I think that they'll end up both playing. It could be three heads in that backfield between Akers, Pierce, and then Ogunbowale on third downs.
Ty Chandler, Jamie likes. Alexander Madison still available. He had the touchdown this past week. Someone told me he got the touchdown because he had a baby. Do we know if that's true? Should probably have looked into that, but it just popped into my head. Alexander Madison.
I'll start calling hospitals in Southern Nevada.
Okay.
Get right on that.
All right. Well,
maybe the play-by-play guy knows.
Oh, yeah. Antonio Gibson is available. Jalen Wright. Keep an eye on that with Mostert injured. And Jeff Wilson got injured too. I don't know his stat. Do we know Jeff Wilson's status?
Wilson is dealing with an oblique injury, so based on Ken Walker, might miss a game.
So Jalen Wright is at Seattle this week. Still Justice Hill out there. Not a great game script, I would think, against Carolina for... Wait, no, that's not who they're playing.
Wrong team.
Yeah, sorry. Who are they playing this week, the Ravens?
They are playing
Cowboys.
Okay. Oh, good game script.
Great game script.
Great game script for Justice Hill. Braylon Allen, Ray Davis, Jamie already talked about those guys. Could be great for you if you need if someone gets hurt.
Did you mention Deontay Foreman?
No, I was about to do that. Let's talk about Deontay Foreman, who had 14 carries. His next three opponents are third worst, second worst, and 10th worst in yards per carry allowed to running back so far. That's the Giants, the Raiders, and Washington. So, yeah, what do you think about Foreman? 5% rostered.
I really don't want to think about him, but if I'm in need of a running back who is going to play and maybe get 10 touches this week, he'll be on my ad drop list, but he'll be toward the bottom.
All right, that's Deontay Foreman. Let's see if I had anybody else. Miles Sanders. You know what I'll say? I was pretty much not interested in Jamal Williams as a handcuff, but seeing the Saints offense, I think you got to throw Jamal Williams in there as a handcuff.
Yes, if you have the roster space to carry him.
All right, wide receivers. Take a look. A lot of guys available in 70 to 80% of leagues, 84% of leagues. Khalil Shakir, Brandon Cooks, Deontay Johnson, JSN, Jordan Addison, Rashid Shaheed, Roma Dunze, Jerry Jeudy, and then Demarcus Robinson is 66% rostered. It's just above the threshold. Tyler Lockett. But the prizes there, Jamie, would be Shakir, Deontay, JSN, Shaheed.
Yes.
I'd put Shaheed toward the top.
I would probably go Shaheed, JSN, Deontay, Shakir, Cooks.
Okay. And then are you dropping Demarcus Robinson for the following players? Darnell Mooney.
I would drop DeMarcus Robinson for none of them, yes.
I think I'd rather chance it with Robinson.
Are you dropping Demarcus Robinson for Quentin Johnston?
No.
I think I'd rather chance it with Robinson, but that to me, that one's closer. Like, I'd rather have Johnston than Mooney. I'd rather have a potential number one receiver, even on a low volume team, than a number 2/3 on a higher volume team.
All right, you got Jordan Whittington and Tyler Johnson. We kind of established that maybe based on what happened in the second half of last week's game, that Whittington replaced Tyler Johnson.
No, I think Whittington replaced Cooper Kupp. If he played in the slot 70+% of his snaps, like you said, then that's definitely Kupp's role. Tyler Johnson was replacing Puka. Shorter routes, perimeter receiver. And I know this, that the Rams coaching staff likes Whittington's speed. So I think there's a chance for Whittington to matter this year. He's going to be, I really like Josh Downs a lot too. If it's half PPR or non-PPR, I'd put Whittington ahead of Downs.
Okay.
As far as speculating.
But who's your favorite Rams receiver?
It's Robinson, but he's already rostered in 2/3 on our site.
It does make more sense to take a chance on Whittington than it does Tyler Johnson.
Yeah, Tyler Johnson. Hey, he's got a role. He's going to, well, hold on. We saw Tutu Atwell also play.
Yes.
So maybe they go back to Atwell, and then we can make all the Tutu jokes again.
Atwell Foley. Good movie, by the way, Axel Foley. Yeah, I did. I liked it.
I didn't see it. And
I watched the Ghostbusters Ice one. Did you watch that one?
It was awful.
It was what?
Awful.
So the thing is, I was watching it like, this is a bad movie, but I'm still enjoying it.
It made Ghostbusters 2 look like The Godfather.
Oh, stop. I will not even hear Ghostbusters.
And Ghostbusters 2 was also awful.
No, it was great. Okay, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, Josh Downs, more of a stash, Wan'Dale Robinson. What was I going to say about?
Can we get a little love for Alec Pierce?
Yeah.
He's playing a lot, and I think he's going to still play a lot, even when Downs comes back. And the touchdown last week, fluky, garbage time, etc. But he's out there. He's playing for them. He's making more explosive plays than Pittman.
Andre Yoshivas, 2 touchdowns against Kansas City, gets Washington, so it could be interesting if T. Higgins does not play.
Correct.
Josh Reynolds has had 93 yards and 45 yards in 2 games for the Broncos. Jalen McMillan, Jalen Naylor, Jamie talked about earlier. Elijah Moore, maybe he can get something done against the Giants.
How about Adam Thielen? Is he?
Yeah. How about Adam Thielen and Gabe Davis? What do you guys think about those 2 guys?
I'd rather have Thielen than Davis.
I'd rather have Leggett than both.
Liggett?
However we're saying it.
I got the pronunciation guide.
Yeah, see what the pronunciation guide says. I thought I heard Liggett say that his last name was Liggett. But Thielen had that monster game last year. Granted, different offense. No Deontay Johnson. No Liggett. Liggett, if I'm saying it right, this is going to be funny if it's not, by the way, is a good stash for sure. But I don't think he had a target last week.
He didn't. But I would take my chances with Andy Dalton being better than Bryce Young and helping their first-round pick more so than an aging Adam Thielen. But
he's going to help all their receivers.
I would hope so.
He's going to navigate the pocket better. He'll take more chances downfield. I felt like Bryce Young was kind of rattled in the pocket and moving out too soon.
If Andy Dalton throws a touchdown pass to Adam Thielen, we have to yell bingo because they're like old, They play bingo. Yeah. So
You got a pronunciation?
yes, it is pronounced Xavier. Liget. Xavier Liget. The capital on the GETT. And then we've got tight ends. And you could luck into getting David Njoku or Jake Ferguson. Ferguson seems like has a better chance to play. It seems like Ferguson is going to play this week. Njoku has a chance to play this week. Pat Freiermuth, I would be pretty interested in Freiermuth if Russell Wilson would play, because Freiermuth's playing a lot. And, I just need them to throw the ball more. And then you got TJ Hawkinson who you could stash. But Hunter Henry at the Jets this week, at San Francisco after that. What are your expectations for Hunter Henry? Do you think he averages 10 PPR fantasy points over the next 3 weeks?
Averages?
Yeah.
Sure.
I'll come in under 10. So I'll say no to that, because we've got 2 weeks of him. 1 week, it's 3 targets, 2 catches, 18 yards. And then the next week, it's 12 targets, 8 catches, under 9 yards. If it's going to be a competitive game and the Patriots are going to be chasing points, then it would make sense for Henry to get 6, 7 targets at least. And this could be one of those games.
We've got Colby Parkinson and Mike Gesicki. So Jamie has Parkinson ahead of Gesicki. Dave, do you agree with that?
Yes, because Gesicki could be, I'm not even going to try and make another dumb joke about his last name. He could be useless once T. Higgins comes back.
So if you say right now Higgins is out, I would take Gesicki over Henry and Parkinson for a 1 week replacement. If Higgins is in, then Gesicki's behind these guys, just to see what happens on your team.
Zach Ertz getting some targets.
Yeah,
Cincinnati this week.
Took a step forward in week 2. It's good to see.
And then Brenton Strange had 6 targets
already. My gosh.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter because Jaden Daniels can't complete a pass past 5 yards. I think he's averaging like, what is his average? It's like air yards per completion. It's
I've
like
got it right here.
2.5 yards. Not his ADOT, but his completed air yards. Jaden Daniels. It's crazy. And Brenton Strange had a really good game for the Jaguars. He got a target in the end zone on the last second Hail Mary. And then I said to Jamie, what about Jonnu Smith? And he was like, LOL, because, Skylar Thompson. But it was nice to see Jonnu Smith get a lot of targets last week. He had 7 targets, 6 catches for 53 yards, but we're not going.
It's not awful. It's not awful, given how Skylar Thompson's probably going to play.
But I also think that was a byproduct of going up against a Bills defense that was weak in the middle of the field, or at least the Dolphins
were
thought
sitting
was weak.
Hill and Waddle at the end of the game.
Yeah, but I thought Jonnu had some plays before that happened.
I mean, Skylar Thompson's going to check down a lot.
I think so too. And this is a change up to Achane on those short throws.
DST streamers, we got the Seahawks, the Bucks, the Bears, the Raiders, and the Packers. Dave has the same 5, but in a different order. He likes the Bears number 1, but the Seahawks,
Bucks number 1.
Bucks number 1. Seahawks, Bucks, Bears, Raiders, Packers, kickers, McPherson, Groupie, Dustin Hopkins, Matt Prater, Daniel Carlson. And that is it for fantasy football today. Someone said I made a funny bingo joke earlier. I appreciate that. I needed that vote of confidence. We'll talk to you at 11:30 on CBS Sports Network. See you later, everybody.